And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Let's go to our friend Vincent Genna, the Super Bowl psychic. Vincent, it's been a while.
It has been, but thank you for inviting me back. Great to be here.
Always scary when we have you on. I never know. I never know what you'll reveal about me and everybody else here.
I know, really. I mean, well, I know, but I'm going to hold that to me, private.
Well, we appreciate that your confidentiality. You people with the superpowers, you're always, we're always wondering which side you're on, us mere mortals here. So
I know. I wish I had a superpower, Kevin. You know what? I'd bet a whole bunch of money on the Super Bowl game if I had those superpowers.
Indeed. So let's talk a little bit about the big game, the Super Bowl. Why is it such a big deal? Is it the self-fulfilling prophecy that if you build it long enough, even if you're a non-football fan, it becomes your life?
Oh, well, that's really interesting because we're manifestors. We manifest our lives, and so we create everything in it. Nothing in this world is random. Everything is in perfect harmony and order, and parts of who we are exists in another dimension. All the information, all knowledge, all of that, and we just have to manifest it into this physical reality. So people who get really hung up on things, and they cause them to happen for themselves, good or bad, and consciously or unconsciously, Kevin.
Well, indeed. So you're saying everything that happens to us is within our own destiny to control.
Absolutely. And destiny is as limited as your thought, your instantaneous thought. That's how much destiny you have. You may have had some plans, kind of like, when you go to college, you have plans as to the degree you want to take, but then while you're in school, you may change your major, you take different subjects, you may drop out altogether. Well, that's exactly how it works down here. You make plans, you decide what degree and experience you want to have while you're down there, and some people may drop out altogether because it's too tough. But we are in control of all of it. There's only one thing we cannot control, and we set it up that way purposely to have fun with it, and that's luck and games of chance.
I'm with you to a degree, but I got to take issue with you on this, Vincent.
Go ahead, take it.
At KIDO Talk Radio, I'm going to give you two incidences, and the audience knows about this. It's a code of conduct, a badge of honor in broadcasting where, you've been fired. I can tell you two incidences where I'm a pretty self-reflective guy where I didn't do anything wrong. There was a management change, and I got it. And there was another time where 10 days before Christmas I got it. This is from an employee that never took time off, gave back 3 weeks of vacation each and every time.
You're right.
And so how does that play into your theory?
I know. And it's hard to be able to say that things like that we manifest and cause. But let me ask you a question, Kevin. Where you are right now in your entire life, I'm talking relationships, your family, your vocation, would you say you're in a good place right now?
I would have to say the best I've ever been.
And if you weren't fired, chances are you would not be in this place. So it was a matter of we get messages, internal messages, gut feelings to let us know we should move on. Same thing happened to me while I was being a hospice social worker for Duke. I needed to leave there so that I could do this profession full time, but I wasn't listening to my intuition. And a car accident took me out of my job. I manifested that. Now, I wasn't so happy that I had gotten a little injured in the car accident, but not enough to ruin my entire life and enough to get me out of the job and into what I'm doing full time, which is so much better. So it may seem it's negative. It was actually you, your soul, and the universe conspiring in your and on your behalf. So you wound up leaving that station to get something better, to be where you are now. So you see, that works for you, not against you, even though it feels bad.
Well, I'll have to debate that with you someday over Bojangles Chicken or Smithfield Barbecue.
I would. Oh, my gosh, Kevin, I'd love that. I'll bring the bucket.
The tailgate special. Vincent Genna joining us. Okay, Vincent, for people that are skeptic of your abilities, your psychic abilities, what would you say to them?
Okay, well, they're actually not skeptics because it's so funny how I get so many skeptics that make appointments with me. And I'm like, well, if you're really skeptical about it, why would you make an appointment with a psychic? You would just move on and not even think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're more doubtful of the information they've been given. not about the concept as much. Deep down inside of us, every single one of us is psychic. As a matter of fact, you would not be able to survive in this physical world if you did not have intuition. Okay? Every single creature on the earth has a certain amount of intuition, and we have the highest amount of all. That intuition connects us to a greater source. And so everybody has that. So every skeptic knows that unconsciously. What they are skeptical of is the people who proclaim that they're better at it than others, that they can control it, because those people have proven themselves to be charlatans. They can't back up what they claim. It's like watching American Idol and those people who go to audition who have absolutely, they can't even carry a tune and think that they're the greatest singers around. That's what creates skeptics. But it doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean that somebody can't tap into it, because we do it all the time. That's what I wind up working with them on. And then when I turn around and I tell them things about their lives that only they would know, then they lose their skepticism. I love having skeptics in front of me because it opens up a whole new world for them.
All right, Vincent, let's play along here at KIDO Talk Radio. What can you say about me that you wouldn't know?
Oh, what can I say about you that I wouldn't know? Okay, so you want me to tap into you and give you a little reading there. Okay.
Hold on. I hate to put you on the spot because I have a lot of respect for you. We love having you on, and we don't have to do that, but I just thought to further build your case. No,
that's cool. Actually, I'm filtering through the things that you wouldn't mind hearing on the air.
Sure, exactly.
So there's some other things that we would have to talk in private about, but which is fun. But what I can put on the air, okay. Then I'm not sure if this is more about the future. There's an expansion coming to your career. This is what I'm feeling. There is a working and a thought process that's going on, and possibly an inspiration within you that you should be following on how to expand what you're doing right now into something a little bit bigger, a little bit greater, a little bit more. Education, going out speaking and being in front of public and talking with people it seems to be more of what's coming up for you, and it's very possible that there have been a thought process of how can I get more out of what I'm doing right now, and I just see you stepping into a time period of doing that. Now, it could be also writing, either writing short articles, it could be writing a book, it could be getting your word out, but getting your word out, Kevin Miller's word, that's an important thing, and more than just on the radio. So I'm curious as to what fleeting thoughts, we may call them fleeting thoughts if we don't know that they're inspirations, what fleeting thoughts have you had about expanding and getting yourself heard more?
I will just leave it at that. You're dead on.
Okay.
You're dead on. So, Vincent, for people that want to get a hold of you, what can they do? And then we'll talk a little bit about the Super Bowl here at KIDO Talk Radio.
All they have to do is go to my website at vincentgenna.com, and that's with Genna, and they'll find out from there. They can see all my media interviews on TV and listen to them on the radio. There's a lot of information, insightful information there. And they can email me, and then once they start connecting with me, I connect back with them and answer questions and help them out and direct them to great sources. So that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Vincent, let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. Who wins?
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, let me warn you about this, and I'm not backpedaling.
Okay.
Every single person wants to know if psychic ability is true, why aren't psychics millionaires from being able to predict the lottery? And I actually asked my publicist to put this pitch out for me, especially now, so that I can explain this. This universe is non-random. Even the chaos theory about how the universe was created has order to it. So nothing about this universe is random. Everything happens in perfect order, including us. Now, knowing that, and we had an understanding of this order, we created the concept of luck and games of chance and competition to have some fun here, okay, on the earth. But we actually had to create it. Now, in the process of creating it, unconsciously, our souls or a greater force within us helped us to determine that nobody was going to have an upper hand at this unless you developed your own skills physically, like in sports, okay? But it was going to be an even playing field. No psychic, no intuitive, no person will sit there and be able to say, I know what the numbers are going to be. Because this is the only piece on this earth that we can say is random, okay, is luck, and only because we created it that way. Therefore, no psychic should have any ability to tap into any game of chance to be able to predict the outcome. And if they tell you they do, the world balances out and you would eventually will lose or be some problems. And the proof of this, there are so many people who work in the stock exchange that actually call psychics. I've had many of them calling me, okay? I won't do that with them, but there are other psychics, like I said, charlatans, who will take the money, and they'll predict what the stocks are going to do. And in the beginning, it may work out in their favor. They're winning, they're getting money, and then all of a sudden, not only do they lose what they gained, they lose even more. Because there has to be a balance to what we created. So I cannot predict who is going to win. But I certainly me, I have never been an athlete. I'm more of an athletic supporter. You know what I mean, Kevin?
I'm with you,
terrible.
Vincent. I am with you.
Terrible. I was the last one picked in school all the time for every single sport. However, based on just like anybody else who can say the same thing, I'm saying that the Eagles are going to win this time around, and only because of the Patriots' MO. 2015 they won, 2016 they lost, 2017 they won, so they're due to lose this year, and the Eagles, for the second time since 2005, are in the Super Bowl. They are hungry, and so I feel that they're going to win.
You're breaking my heart.
But in saying that, I do have to add that for some reason I saw heads in the coin toss, but I have absolutely no idea if AFC or NFC is who's choosing what. But I did see heads. And I also saw something like a 7-point difference between the score. And only 7 points. But that's not going to help. And I say, don't bet money on it. Okay?
Vincent, Jenna, one more time, your website. We appreciate you, brother.
VincentJenna.com, Genna, and everybody is welcome to come. And all your listeners, if they come, they'll get a free audio if they register on my website.
Thank you, Vincent. Take care.
Kevin, you take care of yourself, and good luck on all that writing in the book. I want to see it.
Well, I'll come by the Triangle, and we'll have a talk.
Sounds great. You take care now. Have fun.
You too. Thanks, Vincent. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Coming up next, your phone calls. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And we've got some heavy hitters waiting. KIDO Talk Radio, Tea Party Bob, Gem State Patriot joins us now. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Mr. Miller, and how are you today?
I don't know. Vincent seems to be optimistic about my career.
Well, I would have to say that Vincent is pretty much right on.
Yeah, we still haven't formed that merger with the Gem State Patriot yet, but we're working on that, yes.
Well, I'm looking forward to the party next week to celebrate your 50th birthday. I think that's going to be a very interesting couple of hours.
Well, I'm glad you're looking forward to it because we're putting you to work, so.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like to remind the citizens of Idaho that this HP deal is not the first time the taxpayers have had the wool pulled over their eyes without having a say. You know, I think we should all remember the complaining that came from our Attorney General when he was fighting the land board as they traded off our forest land for commercial buildings a few years ago. And pray tell, why haven't we heard from him on this lucrative real estate deal that's going to benefit HP and whoever brokered the transaction? Come to think of it, I'd like to know who brokered the deal and if there was a commission paid and who did the appraisal on the property. You know, it's time for an investigation into this overpayment of this property, and maybe it's time for a new attorney general if he doesn't go and do something like this. You know, when we hear President Trump talk about draining the swamp, all I can think about is how large the swamp is here in our own state. Politicians are using our tax money for the benefit of themselves and their friends in ways that circumvent the traditional ways of doing transactions through the legislative process and approval, like this HP deal. Now, I'd like to say that it's tantamount to legalized theft. If it weren't for Dr. Ahlquist, we would not know about the bid his company made for the same HP property, $35 million lower, as we understand, than what the state paid. And I got to give this guy kudos for bringing it up.
Well, and here's the other thing. Where's the Idaho Press Club covering that story?
They're nowhere to be found. I mean, they're not going to write about this. That's taboo. You know, it amazes me that when politicians see an end to their reign, they seem to become more emboldened in the deals they make in their last year in office. Just take a look at the two executive orders that Little and Otter signed, which are unheard of, as they shifted $29 million taxpayer dollars from the General and Millennial Fund without legislative approval to pay off the health insurance companies with subsidies for the premiums on 3,500 of the sickest people on the exchange rolls. This move is going to force all those sick citizens to go on Medicaid and lose not only their primary doctors, but in many cases, their entire medical support groups. You know, this is what happens when we don't change our politicians regularly to make sure that they don't turn into swamp dwellers.
Oh, here's something. Hold on. Here's something that was just given to me by somebody on Facebook. This concurrent, it's statement of purpose, RS 25557C1. The concurrent resolution would address a critical need to provide office space for state agencies, including the Idaho State Tax Commission, give long-term alternative to third-party leasing by providing authority for the Department of Administration to enter into agreements with the Idaho State Building Authority to finance the purchase of a property to serve as a state's office complex while maintaining HP Inc.'s presence in the Treasure Valley. The estimate,
Go ahead.
The estimate to acquire the land, existing buildings located on 311 Chinden Boulevard, is between $110 and $140 million. Current lease payments paid by agencies to third parties and rent paid by the current occupants should be adequate to fund the purchase, remodel, and operate of a facility with no additional burden to the state. A one-time general fund of $2 million is necessary to relocate the Idaho State Tax Commission. And it says, contact Representative Robert Anderst.
I would bet you, okay, I would bet you money that whatever it costs is going to be a lot more than what the estimates are.
There's no way that the lease and rent is going to cover the purchase.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And the renovations on that building, aside from removing the asbestos, just the renovations to bring it back up to code are going to suck the daylights out of our tax dollars. You know, what we need to do is to get rid of the crony bureaucrats that have been sucking off the government teeth for way too many years. And I only hope the next governor that comes in will fire all of them and start fresh, because what we do need is to drain the swamp here in Idaho.
Well, Heather Scott has that with her Drain the Swamp Idaho red hats. However, here's the skinny that gets me. Okay, we're doing legislation about raising the age of who can buy tobacco, when if you can kill dead animals on the road. No repeal of the grocery tax has been brought up that I know of. And, you know, here we have this HP purchase that is not covered by anybody but us.
So what's new? This is Idaho. Welcome, the conservative state, where everybody gets shafted except the politicians.
Tea Party Bob, we appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Have a wonderful day, Kevin.
Traffic and weather together at KI. And quickly to Cindy in Caldwell at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning. I hope that Ronnie calls in for his alternative Super Bowl event. I would love to go to. Great new baseball. They refurbished the stadium up the street here, so hopefully they'll have a ball game, and never would go near that even turn on the TV, although I used to love to make snacks for parties for people that had, you know, Super Bowl parties. You know, that gentleman is very dangerous, Kevin. You know, I'm not a skeptic. I know the Word of God, and I'm just going to go put this out there. You go messing around with your psychic a lot of what he said is just not true. And I feel sorry as a nurse for people who have really suffered to think with this metaphysical thinking. It's very, Shakti Gawan, Shirley MacLaine, you are the calling in. It's not intuition. God gave you a conscience. But tarot cards, palm reading, I would never go over to him simply because I'm not a skeptic, but I wouldn't tap into that side of there's light and there's darkness, and you're going to have to figure it out. But to have adolescents listening to this, that's pretty dangerous. I actually went to a psychic once who wanted me to channel in the entity Zoe or thought I had great psychic abilities. So Oprah probably would go over to him. I could name you everybody else in Hollywood that's doing this deal, but that power of positive thinking is just not true. In the Bible, there were kings that even went to a witch and tried to tap into their psychic ability. So danger, danger, danger out there. I'm just going to put that word out. Go study the Word of God and go study, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Cindy.
Bye-bye. Beware is out there for Mr. Vincent, and I'm just get some knowledge yourself, people, and just don't go off the limb. Go running onto his website. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good.
KIDO Talk Radio, your proud home of Fox News on the radio. When you hear Fox News in the Treasure Valley, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, live to the White House. Our man, John Decker, on the scene, and he's rooting for the Eagles. We'll see what happens. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I've spoken to a lot of Eagles fans over the course of the past few weeks, and their attitude, my attitude to a certain extent, is we're playing with the house money. No one expected the Eagles, especially after Carson Wentz went down, to be in the Super Bowl. So it's really all golden for us, and we'll see what happens on Sunday night.
Yeah, the Eagles scare me because they've got that great defensive line aided by Chris Long, they acquired from the Patriots. In addition to that, LeGarrette Blount. The Eagles scare me. What's the mood in and around the White House? Mr. Trump, the president, is close with Bob Kraft. Is there a lot of pro-patriot propaganda, or are they calling it down the slot?
I don't know. I traveled with the president yesterday. I was in West Virginia with the president. Flew with him on Air Force One and up and back. And the focus for the president is trying to make sure the government doesn't shut down next week at this time. Yesterday, speaking to House and Senate Republicans about the agenda for 2018. And the subject matter of the Super Bowl did not come up, but I would imagine there's going to be a few tweets from the president leading up to the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Indeed. Our great friend John Decker joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. So what really came out of the big conference? I know the president had a speech that was televised. You were there. Anything earth-shaking?
No, not really, other than the fact I think this disappointed some members of the House Freedom Caucus, the idea that President Trump is urging Republicans to compromise with Democrats on the issue of those DACA recipients. And those members of the House Freedom Caucus that were there in West Virginia really sitting on their hands with that line. They don't want to give a pathway to citizenship for those so-called dreamers, and they don't want to compromise. So, look, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's something that the White House would like to see occur, get past immigration, and then focus on things that are also important to the administration, like an infrastructure spending bill. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens over the course of the next week with this deadline looming for funding the government.
John Decker joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. The president was pretty intense with his criticism of the Democrats yesterday, saying they're not going to help.
Well, that's right. And he said, there are two options. One is a compromise. The other is electing more Republicans. And I haven't heard anybody talk about the idea of Republicans increasing their numbers in the Senate and in the House in the midterms. I've heard just simply the idea of holding on to what they have. Increasing their numbers, difficult to do historically in an off-year election, which is what we are in with the midterms. And so, look, I think that for the president. It might be a little bit of wishful thinking on his part. The margin is a little bit too close for comfort for Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. 51-49. Yeah, you have a window there, but it's a very narrow window in terms of what's needed to pass legislation in the Senate.
If you had to be a betting man, not on the Super Bowl, but avoiding another last-minute government shutdown apocalypse, what would you give the odds of an avoidance?
Oh, I don't think there's going to be a shutdown. I think that what is likely to happen, Kevin, is kicking the can down the road once again, is getting another continuing resolution. That is what I've heard from various members of Congress. Roy Blunt has said that. I saw Roy Blunt yesterday, by the way, in West Virginia, and he thought I was a congressman. So I don't know what that means, if that's good or bad. But he said he believes there's going to be two more continuing resolutions, not just the one that will get us through Friday's deadline.
John Decker, finally, anything we should be watching out for in the Super Bowl that you believe will lead to an Eagles victory?
I don't know. I'm always uncertain about how these games are going to end up. I saw an interesting statistic today, this very early this morning at the gym when I was watching ESPN, and that was that all of the Super Bowl victories by the Patriots have been by less than a touchdown. So can we expect another close game between the Eagles and the Patriots? Perhaps. Look, the last few Super Bowls have been remarkable. The last one in particular with the Patriots winning was maybe one of, if not the greatest Super Bowl ever with the comeback that they did. So I think that for the Eagles, and it's a big if they have a lead going into the fourth quarter, Tom Brady is just so good, and they have to, they can't let the pressure off. They have to continue playing their game for all four quarters, because that's what the Patriots do. They play for all four quarters, and that's the reason why they are Super Bowl champions several times over.
John Decker, we so appreciate you. You have a great weekend, sir.
Yeah, you too, Kevin. Have a great one. We'll talk real soon.
All right, our great friend John Decker joining us. From one extreme to another, Liberal Steve joins us at KIDO Talk Radio.
KM in the morning, 580 KIDO. He fuels fresh air through his fans into the company's cars and communication of Idaho. Vincent, you didn't ask him if our president would be indicted when you had a chance. Him being a psychic and all, not psychic, but a predictor. And what I failed to hear in Cindy was she has quoted Nostradamus once, probably 3 times on some of her calls. Yet she said, don't go to psychic. Wasn't Nostradamus a psychic? And then the guns. Who cares if somebody breaks into your house and you shoot him or her or him? Armed or unarmed. They are in your home. Of course, in the city, it's tough for people in the city. But when you're out in the middle of nowhere and somebody breaks into your home, who's even going to call anybody? Just bury them up on the back 40. Chop them up into little pieces, give some to the dogs, and put the rest in the ground. Come on.
That sounds like sounds like the voice of experience.
Kevin, we don't need. Oh, and then Bobby is always saying we don't need any more laws.
That's not a denial.
Kevin, everybody keeps saying, all your callers, we don't need any more laws. They keep putting more laws in the book, which creates more government, which gives more attorneys work and stuff. Come on. Who cares?
Are you having a bad day?
I can tell you this, Miller. If someone does break into your house...
Wait a minute. Are you having a bad day? You seem kind of grumpy.
No. I'm having a fantastic day, man. I'm putting in 100... No. Now it's going to turn into 300 feet of fence today. And the little woman's helping me, and she's working harder than I am. But back to shooting someone in your house. I'll give you a tip. If they're unarmed, get in within 12 inches of them before you pull the trigger, and then hold the pistol at your hip, tilt it upward at an angle so that shows forensic that the bullet, if you're going to call somebody, that the bullet traveled at an angle from a low position, and then put the individual's handprint from the opposite direction where it looks like they grabbed for your gun. Cut and dried.
By the way, Terry from State College, Pennsylvania says, was this needed, having Liberal Steve on at all? It's ruined the show today.
You know, I got to tell Terry something. I really like Terry. He bought me lunch and everything.
He bought you a big dinner, and you didn't reciprocate.
I know. He's a great guy, but the guy's got to get some class. Every time he shows up at something, he looks like Bannon, disheveled, homeless drunk. Anyway, Miller, you have a great weekend.
Wait a minute.
Terry,
Wait a minute. First of all, Terry's the best-dressed guy of our group, number one. And number two, you show up with a do-rag, painted toenails, earrings everywhere, looking like a reject from the Grateful Dead.
Do you like the Grateful Dead?
No, not that I'm a fan of appearances. My wardrobe is fresh off the shelf of Walmart. By the way, Luke says I agree with Terry. Liberal Steve needs to go.
You know, Luke, he can just stay in the Bible. We want to hear from him. We'll read him.
It's a lot of people not liking you today.
Do I care, Miller? Have I ever looked like or talked like an individual that cares what my neighbors say, my fellow man's got to say?
I think you're sensitive to what other people say about you. You have feelings.
Yeah, I got feelings. But it doesn't bother me when, especially, you know, let's not go there, Kevin. You're going down a rabbit hole, and you do that. You're good at that. I don't like that. Period. The Eagles are going to win, by the way.
I just think you're having a bad day. You
need the Eagles are going to Miller, the Eagles are going to win. You want to bet some buffalo wings on that?
Maybe lunch or breakfast at Ed's 50s Cafe.
Okay. Well, it's a bet. Eagles will win, and that's it. It's over. So people out there, you don't even have to turn it on. Oh, I am going to turn it on to see Justin Timberlake just to see if Janet makes a surprise appearance.
Well, those thoughts should keep you going while you're building your fence today.
Hey, Kevin, stay abreast of everything you do. Stay fired up, buddy. God bless.
God bless, Liberal Steve. Coming up, we'll attempt to top that next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're still waiting on the memo to be released. Rachel?
President Trump is tweeting about the memo, saying Hillary Clinton and Democrats tried to hide that they paid Fusion GPS to create a dossier to convince a court misleadingly to spy on the Trump campaign. Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, says the memo is not an indictment of the people of the FBI.
The president has stated many times that he respects the rank and file of the FBI, the 25,000 men or women who do a great job there.
The president is expected to sign off on the memo's release today. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Appreciate that, Rachel. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, as we've been talking a little bit about the Super Bowl before we get back to the legislative process and your phone calls. Apparently, the Falcons are a little mad at the Patriots. Who isn't?
Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
That James White touchdown still haunting Falcons fans after the Patriots come back in Super Bowl 51 to win in overtime. After that victory, the Patriots getting Super Bowl rings for members of the team, featuring 283 diamonds as a nod to coming back from down 28-3 to win the big game. Well, that doesn't sit well with Falcons owner Arthur Blank. Blank telling the New York Times that he was bothered by the jab, saying he even went to Patriots owner Robert Kraft afterwards to tell him, quote, "You didn't have to do the 28-3 in the ring," end quote. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
Boy, here you have Arthur Blank, the guy that created Home Depot, so overly sensitive. And one thing that I'm trying to do, and I know that you're trying to do this as well, is we're also overly sensitive. Right. You know what I mean? We've become a victim society. That it's all about, well, you hurt my feelings. Man. Robert Kraft hurt Arthur Blank's feelings. Well, Maybe you should have hired a better coach. Maybe you should have hired a better quarterback. You know, the old days of if you don't like something, then shut their mouth, right? Crazy. One thing that is crazy, and I'd love to get your thoughts quickly at 580-5436, 580-KINO, something we brought up last hour, and this is this whole situation about the state legislature. It seems that we have a lot of bills that, and this is a pattern that happens every year. We have a lot of bills that get a lot of attention, like the idea of, and you have a lot of people that, you know, they see something and go, wow, let's talk about it. This legislation involving that if there's a wounded animal, you can shoot him without being held accountable. Of course, tell that to the farmer that you've shot their calf or their cow or their bull, as we know, with that tragedy that happened in Justice for Jack. Or another bill raising the tobacco age from 18 to 21. Crazy when we're talking about that. Well, they don't need to be smoking at 18 and including these e-cigarettes. If you can go into the military, you should be able to smoke a cigarette, right? Some would argue if you can go into the military, you should be able to get a drink. Although I don't know that cigarettes and the vaping is mind-altering, so that would be a tough argument. And that's already been decided. There are good people in the legislature, as we saw, that attended our State of the Union party. It's the first time they had ever seen the Miller Militia in full force. It was great to see them. Now, whether it's the problem of leadership, whether it's the problem of we're waiting for the right time, there is no right time. The first bill that should have been agreed on by both houses in the Idaho State Legislature should have been to repeal the grocery tax. When's that going to happen? Are we waiting for the last minute? This is an expedited session. Are we going to pull the wool over the eyes of the voter once again and go, gee, golly, we ran out of time? I know tobacco is a big issue to some people. I know that shooting the injured animals is a big issue to some people, and we want to be humane. I totally understand that. But what I don't understand, and look, I'm not a highfalutin guy. Meat and potatoes, meat and potatoes, meat and potatoes, ham and eggs, ham and eggs. Why in the world hasn't somebody, and maybe it's being stifled, but whether you want to make yourself look good or not, that should have been the first bill. And Governor Otter, if you're going to veto it, with all due respect, sir, then we're going to override it. Because repealing the grocery tax, that's real relief to families of every political persuasion. As I said, you can spend almost $150 million, probably allegedly more, on the Boondoggle HP campus. You can spend that, but you can't give the taxpayers a break. Let me be the first to go on the record to urge the legislators that are now in their chambers to make that happen. Let's let the people have a break. Maybe the approval rating of our state officials that voluntarily do this, that put themselves through a lot of time, stress, and sacrifice, will reap the rewards of doing something for the people and not just political favors for others. And then we could say we accomplished something together, constituents and elected officials. Is that asking too much? At 580-5436, repeal the grocery tax now. Repeal the grocery tax now. Governor Otter is looking to increase the budget here, there, and everywhere. Okay, Governor Otter, if we can afford to give people raises, and we're all for people making more money, of course, your constituents are working 2 or 3 jobs to pay for those raises. If we're going to give everybody a big, cushy new gig and new digs, then let's give the people, let's give the folks a break. Right? Time for traffic and weather together. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Don't forget, coming up February 10th, Dave and Buster's. We'd love to see you there. 50 for 50. Help us help the Boise Rescue Mission. A live broadcast from 4 to 6 in the back room. We need to fill up the big back room, and who knows who's going to appear. I don't, but you're certainly invited. For more details, KIDOTalkRadio.com. Ray Maya, outstanding job as always. So appreciate you listening. May God bless you and your family. And no matter what the adversity, please keep the faith.